sponsored in part by Pediatric Associates of Dallas. Pediatric Associates of Dallas has been providing excellence in pediatric medicine since 1971. PAD has locations in Dallas and Plano and is now open 7 days a week because taking care of kids is what we do.
The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional legal advice, medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your attorney, advocate, physician, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding any medical or educational concerns.
Good morning, Empower Dyslexia. This is Stephen Yearout, and my co-host Rachel is on vacation, so we have a very special co-host. I finally talked my son into coming in and co-hosting, being on this side instead of on the guest side. Asher, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Asher Yearout. I'm going to Naaman Forest High School. I'm an incoming freshman. I'm in the Global Business Magnet program there. I play football, and I'm dyslexic.
On this show, we are here to help you become a better informed partner in education. We know that when the parents and campuses and ISDs get together and really provide the best support for our children, great things come out of it. On this show, we talk about dyslexia and related disorders, research, intervention, special education policy. We also interview experts in the field. We talk about policies or laws at the local, state, and federal level. We also talk to people who have personal stories and that are affected by these conditions. So, as always, we say to subscribe, to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you think this information is valuable, please write us a review. It definitely helps and makes us understand that we're on the right track. You can always find our podcasts on all of our local iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, AnyPod. Tune in, and always we are Facebook Live and YouTube Live every Thursday at 11. So today is show number 30, and it's about the passion for knowledge and increasing awareness about dyslexia. And we have two amazing ladies here today, Lily and Genesis. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Lily, you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so my name's Lily, and I just graduated from Midlothian Heritage High School, and I just got a job working for American Dance and Drill Team, so that's been great. And then I am dyslexic, so I've grown up being dyslexic and been through all the public school systems with it. And my plans for next year is to attend Tyler Junior College, so it's a 2-year college, and then do not know what I'm going to be studying yet. I'm under general studies and trying to figure that out.
Awesome.
Yes.
So you said that you were dyslexic. When were you identified?
1st grade, and that was at Scottish Rite Hospital. Yes, sir.
Awesome. You talked about going through intervention in the public school system. What grades were that?
So that started right after I got diagnosed at 1st grade, and I went through all the way through 5th grade and just doing the pull-out classes. That's not when I started my kits yet. And there I learned how to cope with it more and get me ready for middle school. And during my 5th grade year, I also had tutoring over the summer to get me ready for my 6th grade year. And then in 6th grade, I started my kits and finished in 8th. So I started later than most.
So now that you've finished and you've graduated high school, you're on to college. I mean, how do you feel that intervention helped you?
Well, it helped me learn how to deal with it more. I feel like if I'd never had it from the start, then I wouldn't be where I am at today. And I mean, yes, I'm not completely feel like I'm prepared all the way for college, but yes, I do feel a lot better than if I didn't have it.
Great. Do you want to ask something, Asher? Genesis, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I will be a senior at Midlothian Heritage High School next year. I am on the drill team, and I've been on the drill team all through high school. I have 3 little sisters, so anywhere from 13, 8, and 6, so we got a house full of little girls at the house. And that's just kind of what I do at school. I'm in the Ready, Set, Teach program, so I go off campus every day for about an hour and a half, depending on the schedule of the kids, and I get to be a teacher's assistant, and I go in and I help them read, do their spelling words, I help lead spelling tests, and so that's where my real passion came for working with kids.
So you want to become a teacher?
Yeah, my mom's a teacher. She actually works at my high school and is the advisor for the Fccla group that we're in, and so teaching has kind of been pushed into my blood since I was young. My grandma, my grandpa, my aunt, everyone in my family, so my special heart for teaching.
We need great teachers, so keep up the great work. Kind of a personal question. Do you have learning disability at all?
Actually, I do not. So I don't have dyslexia, but when I first met Lily, she was on the drill team with me. And when my freshman year, we started off with a tiny group of girls. We had about 19 or 20 of us. And so you have a big sister on the team where they assign you someone who helps you get ready and everything like that. And so the director at the time chose me and Lily to be together. And at the time, I had no idea that she was dyslexic. So we went through almost an entire year of being on the same team, riding to football games together. And I never once did it come up, or I didn't know the struggles that she went through in class. And then my sophomore year, we got put into Spanish together. We were in Spanish too, and we sat next to each other. And that's when we had able to have one-on-one time. And so she kind of opened up to me about how hard it was for her, especially in a foreign language, for her to comprehend things. And that's when it kind of was brought to my attention that Lily had dyslexia. So I didn't know or understand anything until I really got to start to know her.
I have to add on to that Spanish fact. She helped me a lot throughout that class because foreign language is hard when you have dyslexia. So sitting in class and, what is this word? I can barely speak this word in the English language.
Yeah, right. I can't speak English, much less a foreign language.
Yeah, so it was great having Genesis with me.
That's awesome. It's always good to have somebody that you can confide in and talk about it, because a lot of people, I mean, it's called a hidden disability for a reason. Right. Number one, you can't see somebody that, that person has dyslexia. It's not a physical trait, and most of the time the people try to compensate or hide it because they don't want to feel different.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they can do the work, right? Okay. They feel like they should be able to do the work, but they don't understand why they're struggling. Right? So you said that y'all are in a group called Fccla.
Yeah.
What is Fccla?
So that stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. It used to be the old FHA that was partnered with FFA, so they kind of recently changed the name, and you do community service throughout the year. So we start by, we box Thanksgiving meals for the Manna House, and we have meetings and parties every month, get to know each other. We volunteer at the Fall Festival, so it's really community service based, getting out into the community. What can you do to help others? But later in the year, you start working on these things called STAR events, and that stands for Students Taking Action and Recognition. Sorry, there's a lot of different acronyms in the one. So, and you start working on a project, and there's 33 different events you can choose from. So anything from cooking to teaching to early childhood. So anything you find a passion in, you do a project over. And that's where we started our advocacy project for dyslexia.
So how long does that project normally last?
So we actually started earlier than most people do because I had done it in the past. Lily, this was actually her first year competing. And so I did it my freshman and sophomore year, and I was like, you've got to start earlier this year. Like, there's so much that you have to do in a short amount of time that you really need to have time put in to be able to fix your timeline and everything. So we started in September, and you compete in late January, early February at regionals.
Wow, y'all picked a topic.
Yeah, that was our goal. We didn't want to.
I'm saying y'all picked a good topic, one that's really hard. I mean, you had your work cut out for you, being that for dyslexia advocacy. So I mean, that's awesome.
Right. We didn't want to do something that most people talked about all the time. So when we went to competitions, there were people, talking about the things that they advocated for. And we were sitting there getting ready for awards, just getting to know people. And lots of them were saying the multiples of, there's 10 of them, and there's like 3 different things that they were talking about. So I think we picked a really good topic to talk about that, really needs to be talked about in the community.
Yeah, that's kind of the same discussion I have with him when he's trying to pick topics. I'm like, always pick something that nobody else is doing. Right? Because everybody's doing this project or that project. Let's figure out something that nobody else is doing and do that. So how did you come up with how or why did y'all pick advocacy for dyslexia? I mean, obviously you're dyslexic, but I mean, what was the thought process behind that?
So we were actually sitting by my pool one day, and this past year I learned that I couldn't do Ready, Set, Teach this next year because it didn't work in my schedule. So I was really disappointed in that, and I wasn't done with like this whole teaching thing. So I was talking to Genesis, and I was like, I really want to do something. I want to compete in Fccla, the STAR events, and it happened to be dyslexia that I really wanted to do because I'm really passionate about that and advocating for other students who have it, because it's a full journey for everyone.
That's right.
Everyone's story is really different. So I wanted to learn more because I know my personal dyslexia, but I don't know about dyslexia everywhere. So it was really great. And then she joined in, and we started this thing.
Yeah, I did an individual project my freshman and sophomore year. I'm the type of person that likes to work by myself, and I have my own creative thoughts, by myself, but I'm never the one to be like, can we please do a group project in class? Like, it's just not me. And so my mom was like, this is a big undertaking. Like, the advocacy event itself is just, you have to find out so much information, and you have to set goals, and how are you going to act on them? She's like, if you're going to do this event, you can't do it by yourself. I was like, okay, well, who am I going to do it with? Because I don't want to pick someone who's just going to make me do all the work. Right. And so my mom always told me, she had Lily in a different class than what I was in. And she was like, I don't think you realize how similar y'all are actually in class. And so she was like, have you seen her work? And I never seen the work that she produced in class. And so she pulled out some of her projects, and I was like, okay, I think I could do it with her, And so we started working on it, and you really don't know where to start when you're given a project like this. But with Fccla, they give you a planning process within your rubric. And so you start by identifying your concern. And so they kind of lay it out for you on where you should follow your timeline through it. And so that's where we started with dyslexia, and then you have to set your goals. And so at first we had some pretty outrageous goals. We wanted, to help people, but how are we going to do that? Because
what were your goals?
Yeah, you can't cure dyslexia. And so we were talking about, there needs to be a way for students in the public school system to be able to get the help that they needed. And there wasn't the funding for them to be able to do that, especially with the resources and everything like that. And so our main goal when we first started was to start a fundraiser or some way to get money. And there were lots of different ideas thrown in the air. It took us a good 2 months before we decided, how we wanted to do that. At first it was a 5K, and I remember our parents looking at us, you're not putting together a 5K. And we were so dead set on it for 3 weeks, and finally we're like, this probably isn't the best idea. It's January. You can't exactly put on a 5K. Right. And then, the shirt idea came up, dyslexia t-shirts. And then we started talking to Nancy Disher. We had a phone call with her, and we told her about the idea that we had for the t-shirts. And she's like, that's a great idea, but that's something that everyone does. You can look up on Google, and, there's thousands of different types of dyslexia t-shirts. And a couple weeks before that, Lily had ordered us these bar necklaces. They're, everyone in school has them, but they normally have their name on them or coordinates to somewhere. And so she decided to put 1 in 5 on them, based on the statistic that 1 in 5 people have dyslexia.
Well, at first I wrote it wrong. So it said 1 and 5 with my dyslexia, but then it got fixed. So.
Yeah, so it was just something that we had to wear, and so we were wearing them for a couple of weeks. And I remember in algebra class, this kid was like, 1 in 5, what does that mean? And I got to sit there and tell them, what it actually meant. And then I told Nancy that, and she's like, well, why don't you just do that? Like, you have this great platform already, being able to talk to people about something, that you can wear every single day. And so that's where our fundraiser idea came. And
So the t-shirts that they're wearing are actually my design. And yes, everybody does have a dyslexia t-shirt, but that's the same thing that t-shirt was, the idea behind that t-shirt
Right.
was to say, okay, well, why is one of them red and the other 4 are not? And what does that mean? It's a conversation starter.
really, that's what we wanted in the necklace part of it.
So you had some goals.
Right.
One was fundraising.
Right.
What were the other goals that you had?
Community.
So we did a community night, and we started this goal, I don't remember when, it was a while back, and we didn't know how big it was going to be. We were like, oh, it's going to be like 2 people. Well, it started growing and growing, and so we talked to one of our head ladies at MISD, and she helped us reserve a space down at our conference center, I think it was.
The admin building. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were talking to Nancy Distrolick, and she was like, I would love to come talk at it. So I was like, oh,
Nancy
this
is so amazing.
yes, this is awesome that she's coming, because then I don't have to sit there and they get to hear me. So she came, and we're standing at the door and welcoming people in, and people just keep on walking in, and we're like, when is this going to stop? There's so many people here. Yes, so it was over 50 people who came, and that's pretty big for MISD, because the last one we had wasn't as big as this.
Right.
So it was incredible to watch how people actually do care, and it was awesome to see, like, our friends came and supported us through it, so they were learning about dyslexia themselves. So it was great to see how it's like a chain reaction.
Right. I mean, we say all the time that me as a parent, even a dyslexic parent, going out and advocating for my children doesn't have the same effect on it if they do self-advocacy work. Going out and saying, hey, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so teacher, I have this disability and I need this type of support. Having that relationship with your teachers and being able to speak up for yourself is so amazing. And y'all doing this project and showing and giving the support to other students that haven't got to that point of being able to be a self-advocate really helps. I mean, that's the empowering part.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you had this event. You said 90 people show up. About 90 people?
It was over 50.
Oh,
so,
50
yeah.
people. Sorry. Nancy came and spoke. She's an amazing speaker. I mean, the talk that she gives is always really, really good. So what was your next goal or objective?
We actually wanted to, inform kids inside of our school. So, we advertised this dyslexia night, but are they going to come to the admin building at 7:00 on a Tuesday night? It's kind of, out there. And so we have these things called JAG Talks at our school. It's much like a TED Talk, it basically is one. And you go into the choir room and they, pull the screen down. They have like this fancy red carpet. And so we set up all of our stuff and the kids have the opportunity to come during their lunch period. And I mean, they are given an incentive. They get it's called a JAG token, and they can use it as extra credit in any other one of their classes. But there's only, 4 JAG talks per semester. So, lots of kids will come, and the whole choir room was filled. And we gave a presentation about our project, talked about regionals and state because we hadn't gone to nationals yet. Talked about our fundraiser, and kids afterwards came up to us and were like, I had no idea you were actually doing all of this stuff. They're like, I see you, in my history class, but I didn't know you were doing all this stuff outside of school. So I think that was really awesome to be able to have kids be like, I have dyslexia too, and thank you for, getting up in front of all these people and opening up about such a topic that I keep hidden to myself.
Yeah. It also, I didn't know everyone who was dyslexic in our school system because, it's high school, so you're really in class by yourself working. And I have students come up to me afterwards, and it was able to, let me connect with other students who have dyslexia. So we got to, help each other out, and, we were able to text each other afterwards and be like, hey, I need help on this. Can you help me what do you do for this? It was awesome. And I have to say, even if those students were just there for the JAG token, well, they learned something that day because they were all coming up and they were just shocked. There's so many questions afterwards.
That's awesome. I did something very similar. I got asked to go speak to his school when they were in a charter school. It was K through 8. So they brought in all the kids, and as they were coming in, I gave them a number 1 through 5, and the teachers, and didn't tell them what it was. I said, just remember your number. And when they all sat down, I said, all right, all the 5 stand up. And they all stood up. I said, congratulations, all of y'all have dyslexia.
Yeah.
And they were amazed at how many people stood up and how many people were standing around. And, just empowering them that way to know that there's somebody else in this boat with you, somebody that's out there going through the same stuff, and you're not alone is really the goal.
Yeah. I think like one of the hardest things was like, being pulled out for testing and stuff. That is really embarrassing. Like having to stand up and leave the room in front of everyone. And they're like, why is she leaving? And everyone makes a big conversation about it. But when you have those 5 other students standing there with you, and it just makes you feel so much better. It makes you feel you're not alone in everyday life.
What do you think about that?
Well, this is kind of what I had last year because not that many kids were identified last year. So, in my history class was the main class that there was a lot more kids that would go. But in every other class, it would just be like me only.
Yeah.
But this year, since there was more kids identified as dyslexic, we had like Chromebooks, and I just used my AirPods and paired them with my Chromebooks, so you wouldn't really
Yeah.
have attention to yourself.
That's awesome. We need to look at that.
But another thing that I know, since there's a lot more kids that have been identified, I've started to learn that more kids that are my friends are dyslexic. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird how the kids that you were already friends with are actually dyslexic.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I thought it was pretty funny. It wasn't funny. It was funny, right? He came home after being, not long after being identified. He was late identified. He's in 7th grade. He came home and he was saying that, he goes, man, I didn't realize how many kids were dyslexic. And all these kids that I knew were dyslexic. I go,
Yeah.
yeah, we're out there.
Yeah.
So you did your objectives, you had your goals, you did
Right.
that. So what was the next step that y'all did?
Yeah, so you have to act on those goals. So we did that by having our dyslexia night, speaking at the JAG, getting out into the community, getting out in our school. So that's us acting on those goals. And then you have to follow up on them. So what would you have done differently? What would you have changed about the event or how you talked in front of the people? And we didn't know that Dyslexia Month was in October until after October had passed. And so that was something that we wish we would have known, that we could have, told people that, this is the month for you, type of stuff like that. So that was one of our biggest, follow-ups that we had. And then thanking the people that we worked with. So like Nancy coming to our event. So, sending personal thank you letters and things like that. So
I have to say, this whole project would have not been possible without Nancy Distrelec. She helped us so much lay the foundation for this project because we were all over the map, as Genesis said. We didn't know what we were doing, but just talking to her on the phone really helped us figure out what we were doing.
yeah, and so you figure out all those goals and then you choose, are you going to put it into a hard copy portfolio or an electronic portfolio? And I had never done a hard copy one before because it's a bigger undertaking because you have to have 2 of them. So this is just our binder, but there's actually 2 of them. And so there's 38 pages, and when we take a project on, we go a little bit overboard. And so each page in there is hand cut with the Cricut machine, and there's fancy letters and things like that. Gave our own little touch on it, but you put together the binder and it has all your information in it. You identify your concern. What's your issue type? Is it national, local, or global? And I think that was a really big eye-opener for us because most people, when they choose the advocacy project, they pick a local concern. What can we do locally? That's where we focused our efforts, was in our community. But dyslexia isn't just in Midlothian. It's everywhere. So that was one of our biggest things, and I think that was when we talked to the judges and, presented to them, I think that's really what got them into our project, is because it's not just, we can't go, across the country because I'm 17, but it's out there, and the things that we're doing locally, one day could, affect other people. So that was one of
I
our,
will tell you that it will absolutely affect other people.
right.
When we started this podcast, I mean, I had no idea where it was going to go. We are worldwide. I mean, there's countries in Africa that text us all the time about how do we get help. Like, how are we in Africa?
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy.
That's
So,
awesome.
I mean, you have a huge reach. So keep doing what you're doing. I mean, this is amazing work. So you went to regionals.
Yeah, regionals is in Waco. So Texas is split up into multiple regions. So we're in Region 3 for Fccla, and we compete in Waco at the end of January, beginning of February.
But I have to say, it has not been easy. So the night before regionals, we had drill team show-offs. So we were up forever, and then we had to go practice. So we were at the school till midnight that night, and then had to be up at like 5,
Yeah,
4.
you have to, leave super early. And so I feel like this project, if it's taught me, there's a long list of things that we could have grown from this project, but definitely the time management side of it. I'm in practice every morning at 6:45, and you're working on this project, and it's right in the middle of competition season. So your Saturdays are completely taken up. 3 a.m. to midnight, you're at a different high school. And so time management and, focusing your efforts on multiple things at one time was definitely,
Hard.
yeah, but it all paid off because we went to regionals, and they let you know the top 5.
So there's your
yes.
picture there.
They let you know the top 5 ahead of time. And so you get to spend the night. So you compete, and then you go to dinner, and you spend the night in a hotel, and we're all just hanging out. And, it's us and then 2 other girls who came with us, and we're just hanging out. And all of a sudden we hear a knock on the door because you're refreshing this app, the Fccla app, over and over and over again, trying to see if we'll make the top 5 to go to state. And then my mom knocks on the door, and it's like 11:30. We're still awake because, why not? You're in Waco on a Saturday night. But
Right.
we open the door, and she's like, very loudly in the hotel, she's like, "You made the top 5." And so we're super excited because at this point, it doesn't matter what place you got. Like, you're going to state, you get your rubric back, you can always, make improvements. But Lily was super excited. I remember her, she was like jumping on the bed. And so all of our hard work had paid off. And, we go to the awards ceremony the next day, and they put all 5 of you on the stage, and then they call you up 5th, 4th, 3rd, and then it's like 2nd place. And we're like, I think they might have missed us,
Yeah. I thought something was wrong. I was like, what?
And then they call 1st place, and they call you by your school name. So like Midlothian Heritage, and we're like, oh my goodness, it got 1st place, like in front of all these people. Like, it's a big convention center, and I think at that moment it's just like all your hard work is paid off, and all these people are seeing that what you're doing is actually, making a difference.
We were just trying to get 5th to be able to go to state.
Right. Just
There we
trying to place.
Yeah, right. And get 1st.
So you got 1st at regionals.
Yes.
And then 1st
At state.
At state.
Yeah, so state is in March, which again was another crazy time. You can tell them about what we were doing at the time of state.
Yeah. So during that time, you just finished like contest season.
Yeah.
And you're starting spring show, but during that process, it's also drill team tryouts. So Genesis is getting ready to try out for a drill team that week, and then we have 1 day off to be able to go compete, and then she tries out the very next day, and that's the awards day. And I'm also helping out because I just graduated, and we're at state. We compete, and it was like a little different situation for us. I mean, we didn't feel as confident as we did in regionals, but I mean, we did our best. And so we're done that day, and we're going home. That night, also, you find out if you made top 5. We're sitting there, we made top 5 again, and this is like crazy. But for state, you have to make 1st or 2nd to be able to go on to nationals. And during that time, we couldn't go to the awards the next day. So we're at the high school, sitting there at drill team tryouts, and I'm dying to know. I'm begging everyone to tell me because the girl I'm working with knew at the time if we made it. And we're sitting there, I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for Genesis to get done. I'm very impatient. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, can you be done trying out yet? And then it's finally the time to find out. And we're in this loud gym with all these people. We FaceTime Genesis's mom, and she tells us, we made first place. And this is crazy to us because, like, we're going to California now. It wasn't like second place where you barely made it. No, we just made first.
Yeah, so you get first or second at state, and then that secures your spot at nationals in Anaheim, California over the week of the 4th of July. And so they really award you on all the efforts that you've put in. So you're there for a whole week, and out of the week that you're there, you know, one of them is your competition day, and one of them is the awards ceremony. And, you know, you have meetings throughout about the nationals competition and everything, but we got the opportunity to go to Universal Studios and Disneyland, and we actually went to the aquarium, and we walked through pretty fast, and then we were like, well, let's just take a walk down the pier because it's right down over there. And then they had like this, it's gonna sound weird, but they had like a pirate fest on the hill, and we were like, let's just take a jump over here and just, you know, see what we can find. And we're watching this like sword swallowing show, and this guy, out of all these people, there's probably like 100 people there, he picks me out of the crowd to come up and volunteer and help him on this thing. And so he's like, I'm gonna need you to pull this sword out of my throat. And so I'm thinking, I'm here for my dyslexia project, and I pull a sword out of a guy's throat. And so, you know, nationals was crazy, and we compete, and it's the best time we'd ever done it. We went in there, you know, our speech went smoothly, we didn't stumble over anything, they asked us great questions, and the awards ceremony comes, and it's by region because, you know, you can't have everyone there because there's Hawaii and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands are there too. And so they split it up into region, and luckily for us, Advocacy is at the beginning of the alphabet, so you don't have to wait for, you know, the 33 other events. But each category is split up into 3 different like grade levels almost. There's junior, senior, and occupational. And based on like the coursework that you've taken in school. So we're in the senior category, and they call you up, you know, junior and then the senior one. But there's a whole bunch of people in this one region, and so they're calling you randomly, and you don't get first, second, and third at nationals. It's gold, silver, and bronze. You're competing against yourself. You know, you've made it this far, you know, how much better can you do? And so they call us up on stage, and we're the last people to get called. And they're like, you got gold, you know, that's fantastic, you know. It was weird that we, you know, were the last ones to be called. And I didn't think anything of it. Lily didn't think anything of it. And then we sat down and we're waiting for the rest of the awards, and my mom looks over and she's like, you know what getting called last means? It means that you scored the highest in your region. And so we're, you know, super excited. You're the highest score in the entire region. And so we thought at this point, you know, the competition part of it is over. And we had already planned to speak at the Dyslexia conference over the summer, and we had this in place. And so we weren't done yet, but our scores were already in place, and there was nothing we could do about it. But then we get my mom gets an email that, you know, sums up the entire national conference about a week later. And I'm in Indiana on family vacation, and I called Lily, and I'm like, hey, let's look at this email together really quick. And it tells you that the top scores in the entire nation, like by category. And it's like Advocacy, Midlothian Heritage. And so we got the highest score in the nation too. So at this point, you know, there's nothing more that we could have done. So
Yeah. I have a story to tell about nationals. So we practice while you're there during your free time. So we're practicing, and one of my biggest fears is saying my own name wrong in front of everyone. So I'm practicing my name over and over on the plane. Everywhere I go, my name's Lily Miller. And I keep on saying that, and I have to tell you a backstory behind this, why I'm scared of saying my name wrong. But when I was younger, we got to put our hands in concrete and then write our names. So I put my hand down, write my name, look at this Y, tell my mom, oh, this Y is hideous. Well, a couple weeks later, she tells me, oh, Lily, you wrote your whole name backwards. So that's a big fear of mine. But while we're there and I'm saying my names over and over again, we're practicing, and Genesis goes, at the very end of our speech, we just nail this whole thing. And my name is Lily Miller. So that's probably the funniest thing.
So that's the reason why I loved cursive.
Yeah.
And I wrote cursive in very little small letters, so you could never tell if I
Yeah.
misspelled a word or not, because they were always misspelled.
Yeah.
So what did y'all did this great project? What did you learn about advocacy work for dyslexic students?
Yeah, so my whole view on dyslexia changed. I've always had what dyslexia looked like for my personal story, but not for other students. Like, I've never realized it's everywhere. So the biggest thing I learned was out of 5 people, one person has dyslexia. So that's everywhere. And I always was,
You definitely know a dyslexic.
yeah. I was always scared to speak up in class and ask for extra help and all that. So I was always trying to blend in, and then out of nowhere, I'm out here advocating for dyslexia, and I'm telling everyone in the world, yes, I have dyslexia. So I feel like that's been amazing for me, is just being able to own it. And
Is it kind of freeing?
Yes. And not trying to hide it from the world. Like, the whole drill team knows now. I said my speech every morning trying to get ready while stretching. So it's been crazy. Like, and people will come up to you and they'll be able to like connect with you now. So it really makes you feel like you're not alone in this.
What about you?
Yeah, so the same thing as her, like how widespread it actually is, sitting in class, you never know who actually is dyslexic or what they're going through or how much work they actually have to do outside of school. So you're given, work to do in class, and they're like, okay, just turn it in tomorrow. I'm sure you're all finished, but the kid next to you is probably having to go home, spending 2 more hours on the work you finished in 25 minutes. And so I think that was the biggest struggle for me, knowing that people were having a harder time with the same coursework that I was doing. And for me, I was always scared to get up in front of and talk in front of people. Even though I'm not dyslexic, big crowds always scared me. Even at talking in front of my class, like a presentation that I just knew like the back of my hand, but I wasn't the one to, volunteer first. I'm like, I'll go second to last, because I didn't want to be the last one. But during this project, I get up in front of 900 people at the dyslexia conference, and I'm just, myself.
Public speaking is
Yeah, and so
horrible.
it was always a scary factor for me. I still get nervous, going up and especially doing this and, competing at regionals and especially nationals. But I think for me, I've kind of overcome the fear of, it's just people. They're not going to, you trip up on a word or say something wrong. Everyone does it, so.
I say it all. I'm sorry, my dyslexia is acting up. Sorry. So now that you're done with your project, you've graduated, what is, and it's okay if the answer is nothing, or I don't know, but what's your plans now for advocacy for dyslexia?
So mine is a little bit different. I don't know about Genesis, but I'm going to college, so I really have to advocate for myself now. It's now going in and to college and telling my professors, hey, I have dyslexia, I need this. So it's really a fight for myself now. I mean, yes, I will still help other students when I have the time, but I really got to focus on myself for once rather than...
But knowing that you go in there and fight for yourself, you're actually fighting for everybody in the class because you're the first person that stood up and said, hey, I need these accommodations. So it makes it easier for somebody else to come in behind you that doesn't have that same confidence.
So I work for American, and I was working with this girl, and she is incredible because she was sitting there in the car with me, and we were talking, and she goes, yeah, I had this professor that was denying my accommodations. And I was like, this is horrible. And she goes, well, don't worry. I wrote a whole essay on why I should have this. And she persuaded her professor to give her these accommodations in class. And that didn't just fight for herself. That was for everybody in the class who had dyslexia. So I was like, this girl is life-changing to me. So I hope I'm as big as an impact as she was for that class.
Believe me, you are.
Thank you.
And I think for me, it's kind of, Lily's my best friend, and we spend a lot more time together than I do at my own house. My mom will call me, are you coming home for dinner anytime this week? And so, her entire family, and especially her, have been, a part of me for the past year. And so her going off to college, kind of changes the timeline of where this project is going to actually go. So you can't compete with the same project twice. And so, the whole facade of everything is kind of,
Coming in.
right. And so I still plan to, even though I'm not dyslexic, I can't be like exactly what she's doing, but being able to recognize, when people are struggling, especially me wanting to be a teacher one day, that's kind of where my outlook on the project and where I want to go with it is, now that I've done all this research and I know all about this, what can I do in my own profession one day that'll make the students in my classroom feel like they can stand up for themselves in the future?
Great answer. So I was going to say that not only do we need to have the parents advocate for the child needs to advocate for themselves, but we also have to have that teacher advocating for the child. And from all the teachers that I've met with and spoke with, they want to advocate. They want to have that knowledge. They want to help these kids. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be in this profession.
Yeah.
So that line of thinking is amazing, especially at your age, to think that way. So, great job.
Well, I always talk about my teachers I've had who some of them impact me so much, but I have to say my sister's now a teacher, and now watching her, she's dyslexic also, but watching her in class being able to connect with those students and make them not feel alone has been the greatest thing for me, watching that. And then I also have to say our fight is never done for advocating for dyslexia, because we'll always be wearing our 1 in 5 necklaces, so that will spark conversations hopefully.
Yeah, being able to openly talk about it
Yeah.
does wonders. I mean, it really does. Because you're going to, again, you never know what that person's going through. And Nancy says this all the time, you have to meet them where they're at. So although where I'm at in advocacy work isn't where y'all are at, but y'all are far above where a lot of people are. So we all have to meet where we're at and help each other along.
Yeah.
So I would say amazing work. Thank you so much for
you.
choosing to do the advocacy work for dyslexic and dyslexic students. Do you have anything else you want to talk about as far as your project goes?
Not recently, yesterday in the mail, we got the Midlothian Now magazine. And so we did this photo shoot back in March. They contacted us and said, hey, we want you to be in this feature of Midlothian Now, which is just like the magazine where they kind of recap the month. And so I get this in the mail, and, one of the girls in my class is on the front, for her artwork, and then you turn the page and it's like Lily Miller and Genesis Bays, and like there's this whole spread on like our project and what we've done. And I was super excited. My grandma's over, she's like, can I keep this? And so I was being able to put all this work out there, and for a magazine that goes to every mailbox down my street, now my neighbor, who I don't really talk to that much, but she probably knows what I do in outside of school and inside of school now, which is, really eye-opening to me. And so I'm glad that, we've done the things that we have done, and now, being on here and being able to talk to people and share that we've done. And even though, the project is, over, but being able to share that we're not done advocating for ourselves and being there for other people in the future, I think is the overall end all of the project for me.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about this, but we were able to go back to a middle school and talk to them in our district. Well, it was really cool for me because that was my school. So being able to see other students there who were dyslexic and knowing that's where I was at and went through all my kids there was awesome, because at the end they were all coming up and talking to us and starting to follow us on social media. So it was just allowing me to reconnect with them and help them through it and show them, don't stop fighting, because you're going to do great things in life.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, the fight, the advocacy work for yourself is just half of it. Mm-hmm. You never realize how much you affect everybody behind you.
Yeah.
So definitely keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all of your wins on this project. It's amazing.
Thank you.
You got any questions, Asher?
Not really.
All right. Please come back and tell us how things are going, how college is going, other projects that you're going to be working on. We'd love to know and follow your work in advocacy. And if Empower Dyslexia can do anything to help you, either one of you, please let us know, and we'll do this together.
Thank you.
As we say at the end of every show, if you ever feel that there is an issue or your child may be struggling in school, don't stall. Make sure that you turn in your paperwork to start the evaluation project or process. You can download the templates from our website, www.empowerdyslexia.info. There are all the templates. You fill out those templates and turn them into your school counselor, which will start the evaluation project process. I keep saying project, sorry. You'll be relieved to understand what's going on with your child, and your child will too. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for my co-host, Asher, for sitting in, and our wonderful guests. And again, great job on your project. Keep up the good work. We will see you next Thursday. As always, see you there.